Hey, what's up guys? Mark from SANDMARC here. And if that scene looked familiar to you, that's because that's my home recreation of the opening scene of Skyfall featuring Daniel Craig as James Bond. The best, in my opinion. Just my opinion. And that kind of falls in line with what we're gonna go over today. I'm gonna give you 3 ideas along with some tips and tricks along the way of how to get some awesome photos right at home. All right, and that brings us to idea number 1. Recreating a frame from your favorite movie, or maybe recreating one of your favorite photos. All right, so for idea number 1, I decided to recreate this frame from the movie No Country for Old Men. I'm obsessed with Roger Deakins' cinematography overall, and I thought this frame would be pretty easy to make, and it turns out I was right, thankfully. You can see my setup behind me. I really just have my iPhone shooting through a box, and to get that light underneath, I had just held light source right in front of my face to kind of get that those long shadows on the face, make it look kind of spooky. It's kind of bright in front of me now, so it'll be kind of tough to see, but if I put it close, you can start to see the effect happening. It's super, super easy to do. And yeah, so idea number 1, on to the next. Alright, so idea number 2, and that's reaching into the bookshelf and grabbing a book, except the photos from the perspective of the books. All you need for this is some sort of light source to put behind the books. I'm going to be using the RGB LED panel from SANDMARC because it's really, really small and really easy to use. But you can use like a flashlight or something like that, and they can fit behind there. And I think we'll be able to get some cool results. Let's see. It's super easy, doesn't take much, and a fun way to experiment right at home. On to the next one. Alright, so for our third and final idea, we're just gonna introduce some motion blur to kind of get a ghostly effect. And you can see behind me, kind of just have my camera set up on a tripod. You could prop it up on books or something like that, whatever you have. So yeah, let's see what that looks like. Get out of here. Alright, I actually decided that was going to be pretty boring, and I figured more of you would rather know how I shot that scene in the very beginning of this video. It's actually pretty simple. You just have to have a decent understanding of lighting and hopefully the proper equipment that'll help sell the effect much, much better. But essentially, I just set my tripod up at the end of a hallway. You want to make sure that the area behind the camera is as dark as possible. And then you also want to make sure you've got some light behind your subject, whether it's you or someone else, in order to give them that more silhouetted effect. What that'll do is make sure that as the subject approaches the camera, they remain dark until the pivotal point. So right at the end where my face enters a little piece of light, I actually had a light sitting off into another room. Actually, it's actually my bathroom, so that it was out of frame, and it's just a little light shining right there. In order to create a spotlight effect, my lights aren't spotlights, so I just took some black pieces of paper. You want to make sure that they're black so there's no light leaking. I got some like thick cardstock, and I just taped them to the LED panel and then cut a hole in the middle of one of them. But you're not done there, because you really want to create a cone shape to help direct and funnel the light in a very specific manner. Because if you just have that hole, the light's still gonna spill all over the place. Alright, so just in case I did a terrible job explaining myself, I actually just recreated the setup just for you guys. It was super, super easy anyways, so it didn't take much anyways. So as you can see, I got my camera here at the end of the hallway, right? Behind us there, then you start to see that like sliding door with the light coming in. And again, I want to emphasize, you want to make sure where the camera is, behind the camera there's no light, right? The only light source is actually this super bright panel right here. I don't want to blind you guys with it. And that's what we're going to use to direct the little spotlight that was on my eye. So I'm going to use this piece of paper here. And with this, I actually just want to illustrate how a hole alone is not going to be enough to create that like spotlight effect on your eye. Because if I just use this, right, there's definitely less light for sure, but it's not directional whatsoever, right? And that's why I created this funnel to go on top of it as well, so that when I cover it up, then I have a lot more control on where exactly the light falls, right? Pretty sure you guys can see that. And it really sells the effect a lot more. Again, I shot at a very shallow depth of field with this Canon 50mm lens. You don't need a camera this big. It's more about the lens than it is the camera. And I also set up this monitor so I could be able to see myself a little bit easier, and I kind of like frame myself up so I knew exactly where to step and exactly where I'd be in focus. Because when you got that shallow depth of field, it makes it a lot more difficult to nail your focus, right? So it was easier for me to have that monitor there so I could see exactly if I'm in focus, if I'm not, if the light's hitting me the right way, if it's not. But all in all, I mean, this was a pretty simple, easy effect, and hopefully it inspires you guys to shoot some of your own stuff. Also, don't be like me, clean your lenses. That's it. All right, guys, so that's it. Those are my 3 ideas for shooting photos at home. Hopefully that inspires you to start taking your own photos at home. And if you do, send them to this email below, and maybe we'll feature those in the next video. Also, leave your comments below for which James Bond is the best James Bond. I really want to see what you guys think. Thanks. Peace.